Hi, everybody, and welcome back. And welcome to my beautiful guest, Karisa Johnston. Karisa, hi, sweetheart.
Platinum, thank you.
Satnam, and thank you for coming on because you've got such an important message that I really want to share with everybody. And this is a good opportunity to do that. So let me tell people what you do. And also, I know I said Karisa Johnston, but really you're known as Kundalini Karisa. And that name suits you so much. I love it. So I know that you have a MA in psychology and a PhD in trauma, and I love how you say that you, that your breathology and sound healing and the Kundalini yoga is really the science of self mastery. So we're going to get into that a little bit. And how I met you, I just want to share this story, is that when I was opening Rosalind Soul Cave, you came along to meet me, and I see this white bus pulling up. That's a meditation station. And this gorgeous woman dressed in white walks out, and I'm like, oh my God, you're like a proper Kundalini hippie. And,
That
and then,
was a beautiful day. Remember that day we sat in the cafe?
oh my God, I loved it. And you started to teach me about Kundalini and breathing. And so I want people to understand, first of all, tell us your story so people get to know a little bit about you and how you were led to do this unbelievable service that you do in the world.
Thank you so much. So just a small correction. I don't have my PhD yet. I'm working towards it.
Okay.
But I just wanted to keep it clear. Uh, so my story is a little bit long, but I'm going to keep it as short as possible. I grew up in Queens, and at a very small age, I realized that there was a greater connection to something bigger than myself. And just through an energy source, I really understood animals, and I really understood well, now I would recognize it as soul energy, but I understood that there was a magnetic flow of energy within my body and on the planet. And as a result, I always kind of was doing energy healings, like with rocks and my hands, and not really knowing what I was doing. But it was almost like a game, like a doc. I always wanted to be a doctor, kind of healer, right? Just to give a little bit of a background. So I grow up. I wind up getting diagnosed with dyslexia, and as a result of that, I spent half of my educational life um, not always in mainstream classes. So I understood that there was also another way of thinking and another way of being in the world that wasn't exactly understood by all society from where I stood as a kid. Yeah, so growing up, I always worked with animals. Animals understood me. I understood animals. I understood energy of animals. My first dog taught me to see the unseen and hear the unheard. You know, they have this magnetic frequency of and capability to understand things that we can't see or feel quite yet, animals. So I grew up, I went to vet tech school. I decided that it wasn't for me. I dropped out 2 months shy of my graduation because the business end for me, I was like too much of a feeler and an empath that I couldn't deal with it. I didn't have the proper tools. As a result of being diagnosed with dyslexia at a young age, you know, I heard a lot of I can'ts, I don't know, she's not going to be able to, she won't know how to's. That was a deep embedded story. And I was determined to figure out how. But along with all the I can'ts came with a lot of shame and anxiety. So it was at a small age, I'm kind of maneuvering through the world and trying to figure out how to handle all of this energy in my mind. How do I handle my mind? Nobody ever taught me any tools on how to handle my mind.
Yeah.
So I go to school, I come back, I was bored, I went to school again, it was psychology, I was half bored, not as much as I was bored the first time. And then I decided to switch my degree over to parapsychology, which was higher levels of thinking and uh, a greater understanding of something bigger than your linear mind. And that I could relate to. That was, okay, now we're talking my language. So fast forward a few years further, I finished the degree and I'm writing up my thesis paper, and I find this book, and it's called Measuring the Immeasurable, and it has 26 or 23 different authors in it, and half of them are scientists and half of them are spiritualists, and they co-write this book, and it's all of this very
Wow.
dynamic information with all these very dynamic perceptions. And I came across the word Kundalini. And as somebody who grew up being a dyslexic, I wasn't one to fall in love with words. But Kundalini got me. And I was like, what is this magnificent word? And I needed to know just because the word was so beautiful. And I found this science, Kundalini science. And as a result of finding the science, I practiced the science. I did a self-study for a year and a half. And as a result of that self-study, it changed my life in every single possible way for the better. I understood how to manage my mind and on a really, really good day, master it. Yeah, it's still a work in progress. It's 15 years later. Here I am. I developed this method as a result of understanding the sciences. I traveled all over the world to learn these sciences on a very deep, deep, deep level, including breathology, or what they call pranayama. And I took all these different sciences and I created what they call, or what I call, the elevation toolbox method, which is 11 different methods to manage very general, what I call general experiences as a human and emotions. And when I say general, I say that because that's what people come to me with. I always hear the same thing, and a lot of it's anxiety, depression, and grief, insomnia, addiction, autism, cerebral palsy, ADHD, ODD. At some days it feels like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's just people are not
Alphabet.
feeling comfortable inside of their bodies, you know, and they can't manage themselves, and they're creating behaviors that aren't suiting their life as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are, and now I get to be here glorious with you.
You know, what's so interesting about your journey is that it's like looking backwards, I see your path. It's so clear, you know, that you end up having dyslexia in a time when it really was like looked down on, or it was something that was so prohibitive in living your life. If you had dyslexia, well, like, oh, that person will never amount to anything, you know?
Absolutely. I literally was kicked out of religion as a result.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you were meant to be.
It's fascinating, you know. It's really, yeah. My mother would always say that, you know, there's always a reason why.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Karisa, you're not going to understand now, but one day it'll make sense. And
Does
like you
it?
just said, now one day it's like the path is like, oh yeah, of course. It's all about faith and trust. And that's what I find very interesting about now, this time on the planet, when it's super, super chaotic and all the I can'ts, and we don't know hows, and we don't know what's going on. You have to stay in your homes, you know, creates I think a sudden shock and a panic over people. And we don't have the tools to manage our minds and our anxieties and our emotions. But little do we know that we have the tools right inside.
Well, that's where you come in. It's like we need a guide, you know, someone who, and your journey you've had to develop and search out these tools all over the world, and you've done that. And I do want to talk more about your elevation tool method so people understand what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, so I want people to understand that you have an unbelievable array of tools at your fingertips, and you're able to intuitively, you know, look at somebody, listen to their story, and tune in and offer them different solutions. Right. And one of the things that you do at the cave is that you do sound healing. You come in with your gong, and can you tell us more about sound healing and what it does? And I just wanted to mention this before you do. So I know that Karisa's taken kids from non-verbal to verbal with her sound healing, and I personally, what did you say?
You're giving me chills.
Well, and it's true because I've seen it, and I've seen you working with people at the cave, including myself. I've worked with you, and what's fascinating for me is that sound heals, and that they've used the frequency of sound to heal people, you know, cancer cells, and to heal like real issues that we deal with. So tell us about sound healing.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, well, we know now, this is science. Everything I teach is science-based evidence. And science tells us that everything is energy. And if everything is energy, that means everything has a rhythmic currency. There's a rhythmic vibration that's happening within all frequency or realms of energy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We could agree on that.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. So the rhythm of our breath. So the whole elevation toolbox method is actually based around sound and rhythm. And it's to give different perspectives on how to use your different rhythms to change the vibration within your own embodiment. Left and right hemisphere of the brain, the central nervous system, in the organs. That shift of energy will help shift your state of mind. And it's instantaneously. So as rhythm as sound vibration, or rhythmic as sound medicine, creates a harmonic frequency depending on what tool you're using to make that happen. We'll talk about in a minute, but it basically creates a rhythmic frequency within inside of your systems to shift your state of being. So in all reality, we're all shapeshifters. If we learn the tools, yes, and shapeshifters of the mind and shapeshifters of our reality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if we learn the tools of the breath, which is the first tool we were introduced to on the planet, being born as humans, the tool of breath helps us, drives us into this force of energy, the earth, right? Because if we don't come in with the breath, then we don't come in, right? So breath is the number one thing. That's your first and foremost. That's your biggest tool of your life. It's the most stable thing that you will ever know. If we're not happy within our physical, mental, emotional body, there are certain sciences around breath that we can use to shift these states within all of these systems, literally in 30 seconds. 30 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes. There's all these incremental time adjustments that we can make to create different shifts within the mental, physical, emotional body of the human experience. And when that happens, the consciousness shifts. We start being able to use the mind as a tool instead of being bossed around by the mind, right? The mind actually becomes a tool because we use it to create the thoughts that we want to think about instead of being bossed around by the thoughts that are making us drive into behaviors that probably aren't serving us, right?
Yeah, that's the self-mastery you're talking about.
There it is, and it's very obtainable for all people. That's the other part I want everybody to understand, that this is not something for people who have a practice or cave meditators or people who just know how to breathe can make this happen for themselves very quickly.
Yeah. And I've seen you do it. When in the sound healings at the Soul Cave, I've seen you come in. And I remember the first time I did a sound healing. I had never done sound healing before, and you come in with this giant gong that was gorgeous, and we're sitting in the Soul Cave, and you explained a little bit about the science of sound healing, and then you took us through all these breathing exercises. And I had come in from a crazy day and was organizing everything, and I first was like, okay, enough with the breathing. But you're right, is that breath changes your state of being, because by the time you started playing the gong and we had gone through all the exercises, and you make it very easy because you tell us what to do and then you talk us through it so we can keep going and going. And then you play the gong, and I feel like I went to another planet. I've never slept so well as I did that night. I felt like I was floating for the next week.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah, and I'd never done it before. It wasn't like I came in having knowledge of it. It was just you as a guide.
It sounds like you were even a little bit resistant.
I definitely was. I was like, okay, I've got too much to do than to sit here breathing.
Like this one with the breath already.
Seriously, how many times can you go? But
it's interesting because there is a science around the breath. And the science of time around breath. And when we do it for a certain amount of time, whether it be 1 or 3 minutes or 5 or 7 minutes or even up to 11 minutes, it actually shifts certain biochemistry, chemical systems in the body and the brain. There are 27 glands that live inside the human experience, inside of the human body. When these glands are not operating to their best potential self, it leaves a lot of room for diseasements or not your best potential self. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. They're super important to our wake-sleep cycle. It's super important to our emotional well-being, how our glandular system is doing. It's super important to how we age, our aging process, literally the wrinkles in our face, how our hair turns color quickly or not. This is all the glandular system. And when the glandular system's stressed, it breaks down. I'm actually 107 years old.
You look stunning, love.
No, but really, it's a real science.
Wow.
And when the central nervous system is strong, the immune system is strong. And when the immune system is strong, we are able to endure certain things like sudden shocks, right? We could actually use this time to cultivate. I mean, there's a whole other conversation we can go into. But when our central nervous system is not strong, it leaves our immune system rather weak. And when that happens, we don't feel good. How could we have a healthy state of mind? How is our well-being? We're not well-being.
Right.
So these certain tools with very specific breathing patternings can help us shift our central nervous system and our immune system. So it doesn't leave room for a nervous breakdown. It leaves room for a fall forward and rebuild and a regrowth and a movement forward and cultivating and recreating into your best potential self. It's always about creating a steady state of flow or moving into your best potential self. Sometimes we'll do these goals, work these tools around specific goals. Some people are very goal oriented. They want something very matter of fact within a certain amount of time, and we can work with certain tools to get you there. But some people just want to maintain a steady state of flow. Mm-hmm. And there are very specific tools to help us get us there as well. Sound as rhythmic vibration it's just an ancient healing practice. Like the gong, literally the science around gong is that it stabilizes or normalizes every cell within the body simultaneously. Normally throughout the day, our cells are doing this all day long. Synapses into the central nervous system, everything's doing their thing. When we play the gong, all the cells start to do this. And this is what they call a steady state of flow. You actually feel it, right? Like you'll feel like a tingling or some people feel what they call an elevation, or they feel, like they're not in a sleep cycle, but they're not in a wake cycle. This is a very neutral state.
Yeah. I mean, people walk out the cave after sound healing and they're like, I wasn't asleep, but I wasn't there. Like they're not quite sure what's happened. And the best is when people walk out and they put on the wrong shoes. It belongs to somebody else because they're in such a relaxed state.
I always say it's like we have to make sure that we get grounded before we leave and get into our cars, because people told me it's like, oh, very relax. I feel like I just had a glass of wine, like I hear it all the time. And it does, it makes our systems that relaxed. We have the power, if we just understood the information and the knowledge, to shift continuously. We're shifting continuously anyway, because we're living organisms, and living organisms are constantly shifting. But if we shift well, then we will feel well. And it's my personal opinion, and it's my professional opinion, that these tools help us do that really well and rather quickly, which we all love here in New York, right? It's got to be like now or yesterday. Yeah. And, faster than a New York minute. That's what I say with these tools, that they work faster than a New York minute. And if that is not your experience, just come have a conversation with me.
Yeah, then they haven't experienced you, love. But what I like about what you do, it really is custom designed, because like you said, it could be a specific goal. Or I've seen you working with women who've been abused, and I've seen, with children with special needs, and with somebody who has a lot of anxiety, and then, or someone who just wants to break through, self-sabotaging behavior and really become the best version of themselves, self-mastery. And so you're able to really do that on so many levels. And what's important at this time right now that we're in is a lot of people are living in fear, mm-hmm. and anxiety. And are you seeing a lot of people come to you for that right now? Is that?
I'm getting a lot of people with a lot of internal anxiety. They just, they're not sure what to do. It's too much energy inside, and it's not being processed in a calm, neutral state, and people are becoming riddled in anxiety, unfortunately. And I wish I could just yell it from a rooftop somewhere, like, hey guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, like, this is what you can do. 3 minutes, you will shift your stuff quickly. It's not about having stuff, because we all have stuff and we all have a lot of stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
about shifting the stuff. You can shift your stuff. We should make a workshop out of that.
I
Sounds good.
know. It makes me think of that a quote that I read recently, and it says, "During the storm, calm yourself, and the storm shall pass."
Right.
Which is what you teach people how to do. And you know, anything can be a storm. Like, we are always growing, we're always learning, and so whatever it is in that moment in time, that's what you work with, and it's incredible. And so, tell us a little bit more about the elevation tool method that you've
Oh,
developed.
thank you. So growing up being dyslexic, I had to be in a classroom that really did not serve me a lot of the time of my educational career. Like, I would get pulled from my mainstream classes to be part of not mainstream classes, but they were not for me per se. They were just for people with special needs in general. And I understood by being in these classroom like settings how we as a community, people who needed some extra support, weren't truly being served individually. We're just kind of classified as a group of people.
Yeah.
And that bothered me a lot. uh, I'm 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 somebody who believes in systems working well, or don't use them at all.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have time for that. This is a New York Minute kind of feeling. You know, we just don't have time for it. So growing up, I was kind of determined to be some kind of entrepreneur and helping people understand the magnitude of depth of people who needed extra support, and that it's not about a lacking, it's about a just a new way of learning and teaching.
Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
Right. um you know, it just makes me think about two individuals that I work with and who were really told their whole life that they couldn't, and because they weren't able to verbally express themselves as of what they were embodying, as a result of what they were embodying, they just grew in this frustration inside of them, and this frustration became a behavior, and then they were determined as even more broken.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter. So it just gave me the tools. It gave me the perception that I needed to see through, the eyes I need to see through, to create part of my elevation toolbox method for people with special needs around dyslexia, around post-traumatic stress disorder, around ADHD, around ODD, and OCD. Because really it's just about training the brain and the neurotrans pathways to perceive and comprehend information a little bit more clearly. And once we make that happen, which we can do through specific breath and movements, through sound current can do that, because there's 84,000 reflex points on the roof and the palate of the mouth. And now I know that we all understand what acupuncture is, or acupressure is, right?
Right.
Like, it's very known in the West now. It's not a foreign thing. Most of us have probably tried it, and if we haven't, we know somebody who have.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they're pressurizing energy points
Yeah.
or meridian points in the body to create space in a passageway so information can transport through more smoothly. The same thing with the meridian points in the roof and the palate and the mouth with the sound current, or with sound as vibrational medicine. Just in the conversation we're speaking, we're creating a rhythmic vibration between us and whomever we are sharing this with. We're creating a rhythmic pattern. And hopefully that rhythmic pattern is elevating the mind of all the people that we're speaking with to collectively start thinking more alike and creating a frequency that will elevate all of us. And when that happens and we bring it to another level and we create a more stable space around that possibility, so we're doing these practices, and we're even if it's a mantra, meditation circle, you know, where you're creating a rhythmic patterning, and everybody's consciousness or mind or brain patterns is starting to elevate or increase into the same realm. When that happens, the consciousness of the planet, or the energy of the planet, because it's a rhythmic vibration, so we're transcending it out, it's being affected. And to break it down, because I know it could sound really woo-ha, and I can really go far away into like nerdland. Right? Just think of it this way. The birds chirping, do you think, like in the world, do you think that birds just chirp just because it's a beautiful thing to do?
Huh. Um,
Hmm.
because you've just explained what you did, I'm totally having different thoughts about that.
Well, science says, remember, everything I teach is science-based evidence. And you can look this stuff up for yourself. Just go to UCLA website. I mean, all of their research, you could just go forever and ever and ever. There's a few other amazing colleges in the neuroscience department that's really doing some extensive work. I'm trying to get my method studied over here at Stony Brook University Hospital. And but that's besides the point. So you can look it up, is what I'm trying to say. Birds chirping, actually, the currency of it, chirp, 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 helps leaves grow on trees.
Oh my God, I love that.
It makes sense when you think about the seasons, because we don't have leaves in the winter, nor do we have birds.
Wow.
Why do birds leave? They could survive the winter if they wanted to,
So interesting.
right? They come back to help the leaves grow.
Wow.
Amongst them, so many other things, I'm sure, that I'm unaware of. But that is a
That's a big
science
one.
documented. It's a real thing.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Oh my God, that is
That's how
absolutely.
important rhythmic currency is, sound vibration is. It's that important.
Think what it can do for us. If you're explaining that it could make leaves grow on a tree,
Yes.
what could I do to our bodies, to our souls, to our minds? And I know because I watch you working and I see what it does.
It helps us heal.
Yeah.
It helps us heal. It helps us heal. Even in soft tissue, we can heal our own soft tissue, our own ligaments, our own tendons. We can help our bodies heal. We can help our bodies heal with food. There's currency in food. There's frequency. There's energy in food. What we're eating, there's an energy there. How we're relating to how we're eating, there's an energy there. I mean, it can get really heady if we start to think about it. You know, it's how we self-talk. There's an energy there. It comes and illuminates out our radiant body. Our toxic minds that we all carry around, all that I can't sit on the house, the circles, this one's this and that one's that, and all of that,
Yeah.
we all have it.
Yeah.
If we don't tame that, it puts stuff out in our radiant body.
So true. We have to be
It's a
so
real
conscious
thing.
of that.
It's about being really mindful. And if when we're having a hard time being mindful, we have all this great technology to help us remember to be mindful. You know, it's not everybody's greatest gift to be present all the time, and we need to be constantly reminded. I set alarms on my phone all the time to check in. Hey, Carissa, are you breathing today? How are you breathing today? I mean, I have a practice. I'm at the point in my life where I have a practice every single morning. And it always consists of at least an 11-minute something.
Wow.
That's on the short end. Always. That's never compromised. Hopefully it's longer than that if I can get myself out of bed, and if I could a lot of times. And sometimes I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we're just tired, and that's okay too. But don't give up the practice. Just figure out a way of how to, you know, we don't give up brushing our teeth because we're tired. Same thing. It's got to be non-negotiable. There's no compromising it. And
And
once
that's
that
a good
happens,
message.
hmm?
It's a good message because, you know, it doesn't have to be that you sit in a cave and meditate for an hour. Like you
That's
said, it can literally be 11 minutes. And
yes.
even, you know, you really, so that is like we often do, you know, for everyone who's watching this, we often do workshops with Carissa at the cave, and we're hopefully going to be doing a lot more and soon. So it's something just to, you know, think about if this is something that resonates with you, and you know, and you feel like you could learn from this. We often having classes with Carissa. But so, honey, I want you to also explain, you know, I said that when you first came to the cave that day when I first met you, you pulled up in a white bus, which was an old school bus that you converted into your meditation station. So
Yes.
that's where you are right now, right?
It is where I am right now. It's my elevation bus. You know, it used to be called the meditation station, and because I work with, I'll show you a little. It's a mess. Don't judge it. And that's my dog in the background. Because I work a lot in schools with my method in healthcare profession settings. We were having a hard time getting the meditation word out. It, so around the school systems, it became a bit
Yeah.
challenging. So me, myself, and I, and Blue Moose, my dog, decided to shift the name of it to Elevation Station. So it's Unum Heart Elevation Station. And the program that I'm running is my Elevation Toolbox method. And the whole reason why I'm running this method is to elevate you, because it elevated me in all of these areas of my life that I list. I've experienced severe anxiety, severe depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, insomnia for lengths of time that I rather never remember again.
Yeah.
Grief, around my heart, that it was very unmanageable for me. I had a lot of loss in my life. And for all of these reasons, and plus, shame around being, someone different with dyslexia and not really understanding what it was and not understanding what sensitivity was, and, relearning self-compassion, all these things. Like, it was all these little teachers that I needed tools to help me learn. And I really found the tools. I've tried everything. And not that my method is the only way, not that these sciences are the only way, but I was a runner, and I was a kickboxer, and I was a swimmer, and I was a jumper out of a tree, or like I drove fast cars, and I overate, and I didn't eat anything at all. And, I liked to drink wine, and then I didn't. And, I tried all the methods that I was finding on my path, but they were not sustainable. They were not sustainable. These techniques for me have been sustainable. In the last 15 years, I don't have a recollection of anybody coming to me ever and saying, it didn't work for me. Ever. And it doesn't even have to be the 11 minutes. It could be 3 minutes. It could be start with 30 seconds. It's so sorry.
No,
He wants to be on camera too, honey.
it's your assistant.
She's like, this stuff works, guys.
But also, Carissa, what I love about what you're saying in the world that we're living in now, it's not the world of where you grew up and had like such a hard time with the dyslexia, and you were put in, different classes. It's a different world right now. Right now, we, you go into corporations like that understand that we all just people, and we all need help with, with how to navigate life. We all have trauma. We all have situations that we've dealt with. So this is what you're doing is working with the masses. Yes, you work with special needs kids. You work with people with anxiety, which is anyone I know, people who have trauma, grief. That's just real life. That's anyone who's lived any life. It's nothing new age about this. This is what's needed. And you teach this self-mastery, which is so needed in the world.
It's a dream of mine to really have it implemented into your workspace type living. I've worked with Facebook, and I've had an account with Google doing these techniques, and Google, and these companies have every resource to a steady state of calm, but they don't have your 3-minute fixers. They don't have your 1-minute fixer where you're at your desk and you need a tool. They don't have like how to set your day within 3 minutes from being crummy to amazing. Like, you in 3 minutes, 11 minutes, great if you have it. 3 minutes, you can shift. Everybody has 3 minutes. Some of these techniques, nobody would even know that you were doing them.
That's true.
Sitting on a train, you could be sitting on the toilet, you could be sitting in your car. It's like there's no more excuses anymore, almost. Yeah. Like, I used to hear all the time, like, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time for practice. I don't have time. Well, now we have time. We definitely have time. And these tools are so tangible that it doesn't matter where we are.
Yeah. Exactly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put all your contact information on the bottom of this video. So anybody who needs you knows how to get you. And then as soon as we are, as soon as we're back in business, we're back out in the real world and we're allowed to have people in, I can't wait for you to come in and do your sound healing in the cave and your workshops. And
I cannot wait either. I am so grateful. You have been such a universal, amazing, I don't know if I could say God sent on here, goddess sent, but really, you've been such an angel in my life, and I'm so proud to know you and call you my friend. And thank you for understanding this work, even when I knew you were not so sure about some of it, and with the breathing and things like that. And you just stayed really open, and it brought us here. So
Oh, honey,
it's
thank you for saying that because I feel the same and can't wait to hug you for real.
I love you to pieces. Thank you for
You,
having me. Thank you for your time.
thank you, sweetheart, and you be safe and take care. And I know you will be because you know how to keep your vibration high.
Do we do a healthy breath?
But now, yes,
Let's do it
let's
together.
end up with that. Okay.
So as far as the rhythmic currency goes, there's vibration in your fingertips that are directly connected to certain areas of your brain. So we're going to create a little fire in the body. That means it's your third finger, your ring finger, your ring finger connecting to your thumb of your left hand only. And then you kind of bend your elbow. These sciences that I teach are all based on 90-degree angles and triangles.
Mhm.
So right here with the elbow, we're creating a 90-degree angle, and it just kind of hangs out here. Good. Excellent. And now cover your right nostril. Good. Keep your mouth closed. You can close your eyes if you'd like, and take a deep inhale through your left nostril. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep going. We're going to pick up the pace. Inhale. Exhale. All the way in. And out. 10 seconds in. Inhale, hold the breath in. Keep the mudra, the hand position, please. Stay here with the hand position and body position. Exhale the breath through the same nostril. One more time, please. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Relax your hands. Breathe regular. You can open your eyes when you're ready.
I really do feel calmer. Oh, that was so quick and easy and simple.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah. Well, honey, thank you for sharing yourself and your light, on the world. And this, what you do now was always necessary. I've seen the work that you've done, but even more so, and more people are waking up to understand that this is what we need. That like this is what you need to focus on because at the end of the day, it's all about self-mastery. It's the only reason we're here.
And everybody has an option to do that. It doesn't matter of where you came from or what your education is, what your socioeconomic situation is.
Yeah.
If you can breathe, then you can do these techniques. And that means you have the power to shift your state.
Whew, that's a good place to end. Goodbye, honey. Love you.
Love you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wendy.
Bye.